to the ashes. The spirits light up the night, looking down the edge of forever. So stop me and take my advice. There you are.
Hey.
You're still late. Doesn't matter if it's 1 second. It's still late.
It is.
You still get your pay, Doug. So, hello, Alex. You look much better today. You don't look as sluggish as you did last week.
Oh, I feel sluggish.
Do you really? No, you
Yeah.
don't. No, you don't. Do
Yeah,
you really?
Look at my eyes.
You're faking. I know better. Okay. Anyhow, thank you everybody who is here and listening tonight. So it's what, March 29th already?
Yes.
Which means we're nearing April, which means it should start raining instead of snowing. And tulips should be coming up, I guess, at the end of the month. Oh man, I still have almost 20 feet of snow in my front yard.
I know, it's horrible.
I have my own Swiss Alps. It's right there. I can go skiing. Literally, I could go skiing in my front yard still. Anyhow, so tonight we have Eduardo Sánchez, who not only created the Blair Witch Project, but he also created Exists, which is a Bigfoot movie.
Yes.
That's a lot of people's favorites. I know it's your favorite. I know for sure it was Craig Woolheater's favorite, right?
He loved that movie.
Like, it was beyond love. I mean, I was like, oh my God. Anyhow, but Eduardo has also created a ton of new, series, like right up to today. And I've got a list of them, and I'll go through that list before we introduce them. But really quite a career, just incredible. Yeah, and I think the Blair Witch Project is probably one of the best known films, at least by title, than maybe any other film on the planet for some reason. And I got to ask him that one question: how in the world did he market this thing? It's incredible.
So I was interested in film a while back, and it was like on the list of the top 10. I think it was even number 1 for the biggest return on investment ever.
Yeah.
As far as budget, compared to what they brought in, which was insane.
Right. Well, it was his first major project, obviously. Mm-hmm. I think it turned into a lot more than he had anticipated. And we'll get into that. But we're going to do bring on John Yost, too. And John produced the doc Alien Abduction Answers, which was just released here in 2022. And we're going to just kind of do a roundtable tonight. We're going to do something a little different. I don't even think our guests expect what we're going to do tonight, which is good. Keep them a little off guard. Because, everybody gets asked the same damn questions over and over and over. And we'll get into that a little bit. But we want to cover some new territory. What do they think about, the whole UFO phenomena? What do they think about the headlines that are just like the other day? They're talking about motherships in our solar system and just weird stuff that's going on right now.
Is Blair Witch real?
Well, yeah. Well, you can ask that. As only you could. But anyhow, so we've got them. So hang on, it's at the bottom of the hour. We're going to kind of rush through our kind of opening junk that we do, which isn't too much. I don't have really too much tonight. But there was some amazing news that apparently they found billions of gallons of water on the moon that's apparently inside these little glass beads. Okay, but I've known about the glass beads forever. The actual glass beads, because that's what gives you that beautiful reflection. That plus the, I think they call it regolith. It's this thin surface of reflective stuff on the moon. Just really weird. Like, who put it there? What are the chances, right, that our moon is so beautiful at night? And that it lights, the way for the animals and fish and every creature on the planet. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is weird.
It's like it was placed there. Anyhow, but apparently they found this, and it was the Chinese that apparently found it. And I do say the word apparently because I haven't squeezed any water out of any glass beads. So, I take everything
What about out of one of those tiny cups?
Well, I could. Yeah, I always have a tiny cup with my fluids in it. Today I have Gatorade. Oh yeah, nice. That's what I need. That's what we need for a coffee. Nice, Alex. That's what we need for coffee time. There we go. That's kind of what I look like too. Early in the morning. Okay. So let's see here. But I've known about those glass beads for like 25 years at least.
25 years.
I have, yeah. I mean, that's been around forever. There's been researchers that have known about that because we had, apparently people there. Apparently.
There's people there?
Well, apparently. Well, people that went to the moon.
Yeah. But
apparently.
But did that actually happen?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Do you think it's possible it was faked by
Sure, of course it's possible. Sure, of course.
What was that famous director? Everyone says that he's the one who faked it. The guy who did The Shining.
De Palma or no?
Kubrick.
Yeah, Stanley.
Yeah,
Kubrick.
He left clues and like.
I know there's some, you watch that stuff and there's some interesting things that they bring up. Very interesting things. Anyhow, what do we got here? I'm just kind of like out of it today. Okay, so there was a very large, speaking of water, there was a large freshwater lake in, it would have been in Eastern California. It was the largest lake west of the Mississippi River. Now, do you know what the largest lake is west of the Mississippi River?
Jackson Lake?
What the fuck? Jackson Lake. Oh my God. No. It was a lake. It was the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi River. It was Tulare Lake.
Tulare?
Yeah. But the lake was drained in like the 1800s.
They just got rid of it?
They drained it.
What'd they do with the lake?
Well, they dammed it off and they used it for agriculture way, way back. So at one point, it covered just a huge amount of land. It's 30 feet deep, but it was this month because of all the powerful storms. It's filling up again for the first time in a long time. So Tulare Lake is the thing again. Yeah, just probably a mud hole because there's obviously no fish in it.
Can you go swimming in it?
You could. I would. You could swim in it all you want, and you come out like looking like a mud man.
Mud man?
Yeah, mud man. So this lake is really cool because in 1878 was the last time it was full. It happened again in 97 from a lot of rainfall. But the point is, at one point, this thing was 82,000 acres big. It's a big lake. It covered 1,200 square miles.
1,200 square miles?
Yep. I'm hearing a bunch of weird stuff. I swear to God, there's nobody home. There's nobody in my studio. There's nobody home. And I swear to God, I hear somebody walking around outside my studio door. And of course, the studio door is closed. And I'm in here literally real time freaking out.
Man, just imagine
I'm not
when you
kidding
take your trash out.
We've had, I wouldn't say ghost activity, but it's some weird stuff happening around here. Like yesterday, I went to get my keys and my keys for my Jeep were gone. My new keys. But in its place were my old Jeep keys from a Jeep I owned like 10 years ago.
So who do you think's messing with you?
And I couldn't find my keys. I don't know. It's like, it was just kind of weird. I thought it was like, I haven't seen these keys in like 12 years. And they were on the hook where my new Jeep keys go. And my new Jeep keys were gone.
Do you think it's ghosts?
I don't know. How do I know? I haven't seen it. Can you see a ghost? I don't know. I'm hearing something out right now. I'm literally hearing something. Oh my God, just hang on. Did you just text me?
No.
Oh my God, I just got a text from you. It just came in just now. I swear to God. You know what it says? It says we're live in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, I sent you that.
Yeah, I know, but it just came in.
You just came in now?
Yeah. Anyhow, okay. So we're gonna see if we can get through this freak out I'm having right now. But I just thought it was cool that this lake is filling. I just like stuff like that. Finding out about the biggest lake and then nobody knows about it, and how they used it and they drained all the damn water out of it, dammed it all off.
Jackson Lake?
No, Tulare Lake. Oh my God. Let's see here. So anyhow, right now there's an evacuation warning issued for west of Highway 43 in Tulare County. So take that warning. There's a lake heading your way.
Jeez.
Okay. So tonight you can go see the Parade Planet, or you could yesterday. Yeah, you can tonight. You know what the Parade Planet is?
What's the Parade Planet?
Oh my God. One of these days I'm going to ask a question. You're just going to go, hell, I know. It's when Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Uranus is all lining up in like a pearl of
so the pearls of Uranus are lined up.
No. The pearls of these planets look like a pearl necklace.
Yeah.
Or a parade. I call it a parade. Planet parade.
So there's a pearl.
Go look west tonight and you can see it yourself. He just went flying. Kia's just can't get a break. Kia, because they're having like apparently some of their SUVs and trucks, the trailer hitches are catching fire. They're getting wet or something and they're malfunction.
Are they super easy to steal too? There's that challenge.
Yeah, that's this Kia Soul, the one that went flying through the air.
Yeah.
Those are apparently really easy to steal. There's some security system that's just not on them, and there was like a TikTok challenge for people to go steal them. Like, oh my God, who does that? And so the insurance companies just said, they just announced here, I'm not going to mention which ones, said, we're not insuring those anymore. So yeah, it's just like Kia can't get a break.
So if you have a Kia, trade it in before it gets taken.
Well, I happen to have a Kia in my family, and I'm not going to mention who's got it. But there is a Kia in my family. Somewhere lurking, waiting to be stolen.
Not mine.
No, not mine at all either. Anyhow, should we just go to a quick break you wanted to take here, and I think it's your super chat break.
Yeah.
Show your support for the Untold Radio Network family of shows and join in on the conversation by using super stickers and super chats on YouTube. Got a question you want answered? Ask it live via a super chat and get real-time responses from our show's knowledgeable hosts and guests. Help keep the Untold Radio Network shows running strong. We need your support. Send your super chats and stickers now.
And it's just me.
And it's me. I really do want to go check like what's going on out there. There really is somebody out there. Swear to God.
If you want to go look, I can start.
It's literally, it's freaking me out. It's distracting me. I'm hearing walking. I just heard a door shut. I'm like, nobody should be here till like, oh no, it's fine. I think I know who it is. Never mind. It's not a ghost.
It's that person.
It's that person. Yeah. No, I don't. I know it's fine. It's all good. It wasn't a ghost. I didn't think they were supposed to be here right now, but they probably are. It's got to be them. So, okay. So you take flights plenty of times. We all do. I've got a flight coming up here in May. I always wonder that. How long does a plane last? How many cycles? They call them cycles. From landing, don't cheat now, Alex. From landing to takeoff, that's considered one cycle. Right? That's a cycle. Or takeoff to landing. So how long do you think a plane lasts? Like they have to get rid of it? Like they've got it.
10,000 cycles.
10,000. Does anybody else want to guess what can we give away? Give away a book?
Give away a book.
Let's give away one of Andy McGrath's Beasts of the World book, which is on, we'll do the hairy hominids, which is on Bigfoot. Okay.
Got it.
For the person to guess the, how long a plane lasts. Or no, better yet, I'm going to change it. I'm going to be very specific. So no, let's see here. How about an Airbus A320? Real common plane.
Airbus.
How long do the engines last before they got to just get rid of them?
So they swap out the engine. They can keep the plane.
Yep. How long? How many? Yeah. How many cycles will an Airbus A320 last? So you said 10,000 cycles on a plane. You're
Patrick says they last right up until the scene of the crash.
Perfect. Good answer. Yeah, we should almost give Patrick a book for that answer. That was pretty witty. Very witty. So, do you want to guess, Alex? Without cheating? Without Googling? You're Googling.
3,000. 3,000.
No. Did anybody guess the 40? Let's see here. Who's there? I always pick the wrong winner. So, okay. So, 50,000. Helton got it. Jeff got it too, but I'm not giving Jeff a book.
You're not giving.
I'm not giving Jeff a book. There's not a chance.
So who won? Who won again?
Helton won.
Helton won?
AKA Faster Man.
All right, Helton.
You know him.
Yeah. Please email me at alex@untoldradioam.com.
Yeah, just put it up there. But he won a
it's
Andy McGrath's Beasts of the World, Hairy Hominins, and that's volume 1. So good guess. Yes, and it's crazy. That's a lot of flights for an engine just to, not be taken out of service. Obviously, I think they rebuild them quicker than that. But I'm talking about how long do they last? They got to just chuck them in the trash.
Man, you'd hate to be the 49,000.
Oh, I know. Yeah, 49,999 flight cycles. Yep. No, we're going to take that.
That's when you're on Spirit.
Yeah. Oh, God, you better watch it. Okay, anyhow, I don't really see. I told you I didn't have much. What time is it? Yeah, we got enough time though. All right, so we're gonna bring on. So let me introduce Eduardo. Man, I'm losing I need my drink. So Eduardo, it's a tongue twister for me tonight. Sanchez was born in Cuba in 1968, which makes him a youngster. And it was at his young age he gained interest in filmmaking, right? At Wheaton High School, had made movie school projects such as Shrimp Fried Vice and Pride in the Name of Love, in all which starred his friends and family, as well as Ed himself. And that's all I'm going to say because, it goes on forever. This guy's, his bio. I mean, it goes on forever. His IMDb is probably one of the biggest on IMDb. All right.
And then we have the servers.
Then we have John Yost, who in 2022, he filmed the American documentary was written and directed by John that explores the phenomena of alien abduction. He had Whitley Strieber, who was the famous author of the New York Times bestseller True Story Communion that appears in this film. He's also an actor and he's done other projects. But so let's bring them both on. People know who they are.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, John.
Hello.
Hey, where are you, Eduardo? Are you in Florida?
No, I live in Maryland. I'm in my house in Maryland.
Oh, cool.
Frederick,
cool.
Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, but and where are you right now, John? Pennsylvania?
Yes, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Cool. Yeah, see, I remembered that. So here we have two filmmakers. And I'll guarantee you guys, I know you have both very strong opinions on a lot of topics, and we'll go through some of your stuff. And Alex, did you, by the way, prepare anything on Eduardo, any of his amazing work, any trailers or anything?
I'd be happy to bring anything up that.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can.
During the discussion.
But so these guys are both very, successful. John is successful in his right. And Eduardo, you're like, I don't know if anybody can touch you as far as the projects you've done and the name recognition of your movie project. I don't know. I don't think I could find one person that doesn't know about the Blair Witch Project.
And by the way, I still know a lot of people that think that's a documentary.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was a crazy thing, you know, and I feel really blessed to have been a part of it, you know.
Yeah. So when did you realize that your life was going to change?
Man, I guess when we got into Sundance, like we got the call and, you know, cause they were at that point, like Sundance, and it still is, of course, but it was like this thing where like, man, if you got your film into Sundance and you have a chance of becoming like, you know, a real filmmaker, like, you know, at least a paid filmmaker. Cause we had been, you know how it is as you're struggling, you know, make no money. But I think when we got into Sundance, we finally, I realized, I'm like, man, I mean, maybe I got a shot at this. And then, you know, once, you know, the word started getting out and started becoming kind of viral, you know, it got crazy. And then we realized we were onto we had something. We didn't know what the hell, you know, was going to happen, but we knew we had something crazy.
Well, so
go ahead, Alex.
Well, just one thing I want to know is how much of Blair Witch, how much was the marketing organic? Like it just kind of took over when you did that film, and how much of that was just, you know, was planned? Like,
well, I mean, most of it was planned. I mean, you know, at least the initial part of it, like, I mean, and it wasn't really a plan. It was like, you know, we were like when we were broke filmmakers, and we had this movie we were editing, and we had a show called Split Screen, which was on Bravo. John Pearson, who's like this independent film guru, had this show called Split Screen, and he had a little Blair Witch segment, and his discussion board blew up. You know, this was back in like 98. So 98, I guess, or maybe even 97. Oh yeah, 97, 98. Anyway, you know, the internet was like, you know, in its infancy, and anyway, his board kind of blew up, and John was like, "Look, why don't you guys do your own website, because you guys are taking over my website and, you know, my discussion board, and, you know, people can't talk about anything else or whatever." So we were like, "Yeah." So I had a little bit of web experience, and, you know, we had no money, so we were like, I think we got free hosting from somebody we knew. And I built this website, and, you know, that's kind of how the marketing started. And then once you know, and really it was just kind of out of necessity. We had no money. So once Artisan, which was the company that bought the movie, you know, bought the rights, then they took the website down and they used it as part of like the marketing thing. You know, they started slowly bringing kind of a revamped version of mine up, you know, month by month as it was appearing, you know, as we were getting closer to the release. And then the rest of it just came like, you know, organic. Like, you know, they asked us, we have an hour at the Sci-Fi Channel for a special. Do you guys have any ideas for a Blair Witch special? And we were like, yeah, we could do like a fake documentary about the legend and all that stuff. So that was how Curse the Blair Witch was done. And then, you know, it was the thing about Blair Witch was that it was an idea that like kind of really lent itself really well to like just little bits of marketing. So we did comic books, and, you know, and a book about it, that, you know, the detective that supposedly looked into the case, and all this stuff like that. So it was kind of it was almost, you know, it was like almost like the steps were already predetermined for us. And then, you know, obviously the fan reaction and all that kind of viral stuff, like people sharing the tape and the VHS tape and the bootleg tape and stuff. That was, you know, you can't plan that stuff. But the initial stuff was, you know, it was kind of a little bit of planned, and then it, you know, like any good marketing plan, you know, it kind of takes on its own life, you know.
Well, it's just, well, you know, what's cool about you two, both of you both got into filming in a very organic way in a lot of ways. You know, John made this amazing documentary based on experiences he had as a young, you know, as a kid, basically. And it drove him to make this doc. And you've done other projects before this, haven't you, John?
Yeah, I've been, actually, Eduardo and I are pretty close in age. I was born in 66. So, you know, I had a whole life before film and TV. I got out of school and I ended up working with the U.S. Treasury Department. U.S. Customs, and I was a U.S. Customs broker. And so those guys, what we did was we move people, intellectual properties, and billions of dollars around the world. And we navigate all of the trade agreements between these, countries. So I lived around the world, and I did that for about 10 years. But it just, I can speak to you, Eduardo. It was a job. You know what I mean? It wasn't my passion.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to get into film. And so I said, I'm going to do that. Now, you have to remember, I was married and I had 2 small children. And everyone in my world called me interesting names. And I think they translate in any language, if you understand me. And they hit the K very well. So they had really great diction. But I just, what I did? I tell you something. I did something probably very backwards. I took a look at it like a business before I took a look at it like an art, right? So I figured, look, I didn't graduate from Juilliard. I didn't graduate from Yale Drama or anything. But I wanted to find out how to succeed. But more than that, I wanted to find out how people fail. Because I figured this, look, I'm not part of that echelon, right? If I screw up, it's going to kill me. Somebody there screws up, they have family and friends and money and political help. They can get by. So what I did was I opened up Ross reports and Backstage and Drama Log and all this stuff. And I crossed the country. And what I did was I would call people and I would say, hey, my name's John Yost and I'm a student. I was learning something. And I said, I'm writing a thesis. It was a business plan. And so I said, the subject of my thesis is why actors fail. Half of them went, shut up, and hung up on me. The other half said, wait a second, what'd you say? I said, look, I'm not interested in a hookup. I don't want you to give me a job. I said, I'm cataloging things like this. I said, look, in your life, and Eduardo, I'm sure you'll agree, in your life, you've been successful, you're a paid guy to do your job. There have been some things you went, ugh, I wish I hadn't done that. Or I wish I would have done it a little different. I said, all I want to do is catalog those things. So I crossed the country. I had like 62 interviews. And after that time, I came up with 5 actionable tasks. I realized that if I did the exact opposite of what these people did and made mistakes, I would get different results, right? So within 3 years, I was a member of Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television Radio Artists, Actors Equity Association, and AGMA, which is American Guild of Music Artists. I appeared off Broadway, appeared in LA, had 7 national commercials. I was doing it, right? I was just living the life. And so then, this is about 35 years ago, because we're not young anymore. So what happened was I had to make a decision. I see that you're in Maryland, God bless you. But if you want to play this game on a full-time basis, especially back then, it was like LA or New York, and this was kind of forced upon you. And I didn't want to raise my kids in either one of those cities. So I decided,
hey, John, and I'm just curious. It's just killing me. What were the 5 things that you came up with?
I'm not telling you.
You gotta buy the book.
You gotta buy
3 easy payments of 1995.
You gotta flirt with me or something. Say something about my Wayne Newton hair or something. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
So anyway, so what I did was I realized in my research that most of these stars, when they become big, they eventually create their own venue, so they can do their vanity projects. I was a blue collar worker always, I pull the cable, I do whatever. I just figured maybe if I create my own venue, maybe I can actually push myself into that world. So about 30 years ago, I created a company called Sonic Pictures, and that grew to 15 guys, and that grew to 40 guys. And then I opened up, this is before Katrina and Louisiana and Georgia and all this other stuff. I opened up the largest studio outside of Hollywood in Pittsburgh, actually, 330,000 square feet under one roof. It's a pretty big deal. And I pushed that along. We did a bunch of stuff. We did, I'll tell you, the biggest project I did there was Unstoppable, which was 120 million with Christopher Pine and Rosario Dawson and Denzel Washington. And I had some wonderful investors who screwed me like you cannot believe, because they were looking to turn a buck, and I was looking to build an industry, right? So that was about 14 years ago. And so that was an ugly thing. And I ended up going with a company that I knew very well called Rhino Pictures. And so they had done a lot of small stuff and like long format commercials. I'm sure Mr. Sanchez has done a lot of paycheck jobs, if you understand me.
Oh yeah.
So did a lot of commercial work, did some long format work, did blah blah blah. I don't want to bore your audience, but then I kept pushing. I said, guys, look, my background is television and film. Let's go that way. So about 7 or 8 years ago, I was able to do that. And so I'll just say this: you guys know these players. We do stuff that you'd find on Food Network or History Channel or Esquire or Fox or whatever. And we did the whole gamut. And then I said, listen, we really have to get into content, because that's where it's at. But I wasn't going to go the route of, hell, when we started, Eduardo, there were like 3, like independent, outlets or whatever. And now there are thousands. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't want to get lost. I don't want to go to the film festival route. So I set my sights on distributors, building relationships with distributors. And I would pitch them ideas, burn sizzles, this sort of thing, get them interested, and then build projects out of that. And that's where I was. This film that I did, this Alien Abduction Answers, is a total accident. Yeah, it was never supposed to happen. But something happened to me in the desert of Borrego Springs, California, which forced me to do that other film, which is now where we're distributed throughout North America via Virgil Films, and it's going international on the 15th of April. So
nice.
Yes. But I mean, that road, that hill that I'm climbing. So so that's. I hope I didn't bore any. Hope I didn't bore anybody. But that's
no. Eduardo, do you even have to pitch anybody anymore? Do you pitch ever, or do you just do what the heck you want to do at this point?
No, dude. I mean, I still pitch. Unfortunately, I don't have that kind of pull. I mean, I don't think there are not many people that can do that. No, I mean, right now I'm mostly I for the last like 8 or 9 years I've been doing just television. Directing mostly, and then my partner Greg Hale and I, we take out shows, but we pitch all the time. And it's just part of the deal. I mean, I think you don't stop. I don't know anybody who doesn't pitch. But and it's John's saying his story. It's like sometimes you just gotta. I don't know all the details of your adventure, John. I'm like really looking forward to like digging in, after this. But because all that stuff that stuff really fascinates me. But yeah, sometimes there's just something that happens and you just got to do it. And and that kind of pushes you into this business in a strange way. And even though I wanted to be a filmmaker all the time, since I was a kid, I never thought I liked horror movies, but I didn't love them. I was kind of, I'm still kind of I get scared easily. So I never thought I was going to be making horror movies. And now the fact that that's kind of my calling card, sometimes that just happens, so you just got to learn to roll with it and keep the momentum going somehow.
Well, how did you get interested, Eduardo, into the paranormal or mysteries like Bigfoot? And obviously you've got a great interest in this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, it's, as a kid, I mean, I think is probably all of you guys is the idea that you see something as a kid and it scares you. But at the same time, it fascinates you. And for me, it was, I was born in 68. So I'm, around John's age, and we, in the 70s, it was just Bigfoot was like, after the Patterson Gimlin film, that was like, I was just like, I can't believe there's a film of Bigfoot, you know what I mean? And even to this day, like, it goes, people believe in it, people don't believe in it. There's all these stories, this and that, whatever. It's still a pretty remarkable piece of footage. If it's fake, it's the most amazing fake ever.
Yeah, I'm glad you think that.
Yeah, and then you go the other way and you say, God, is that really?
Well, because
you know what I mean? And that's just like how do you back away from that? You know what I mean?
But you've got experience in making a suit and,
Oh
hiring
my God,
people.
absolutely. And for me, that's the thing, is that the Patterson Gimlin film to me was like the masterpiece of Bigfoot cinema, at least the Bigfoot, the creature, because something about Bigfoot movies, other than like the $6 Million Man, like when you had, really a real budget, is that the suits just are terrible, and they're constantly cutting away from the creature because it's a guy in a suit. And I was like, since I was a little kid, I'm like, man, there's got to be a way to make a movie with Bigfoot that looks good, and you see other movies that do, apes, and like, Rick Baker was a crazy master of like, putting people in ape suits and actually looking like apes. So I was like, there's got to be a great way to, a way to do a good Bigfoot suit.
Well, I want to stop you because everybody says yours is the best.
Well,
so
thanks,
I want to give you that compliment, but everybody also says the Patterson footage is still better.
Oh, so, the Patterson. The thing about the Patterson film footage is that like, it's not supposed to be a movie. You know what I mean? Like that's supposed to be. It's like the first instance of found footage. Really, like, oh man, look at this. These hunters, these guys were out there, and they happened to have a Super 8 camera, and they shot this footage. But yeah, to me, so that was the inspiration, and and there's
Well, do you think it's real? I mean, would you, if you were a betting guy, would you bet it was real or fake?
After trying to make this, after doing the movie, and you yourself, right, are trying to make.
You would have more perspective than anybody.
I mean, for me, it's kind of one of these things where you're like, it can't be real, but then it can't be fake. Like, you look at it and you're like, okay, the suit looks impeccable. There's like muscle twitching, and there's like all this kind of stuff, and then the fact that if you really look at it closely and you really geek out on it, the thing has breasts. It's like a female, and it's like, why would? Because we struggled with that too, and for our movie Exist, it was like, because I always thought the idea of like the creature being a female was really interesting to me. This motherly instinct, but I was like, we can't have boobs because then it's going to be very distracting, and I don't want it to look funny, and you know how it is. It's like you can't, but the idea that like they put, like if you slow down the footage and you see the stabilized footage, there's breasts on the creature. So I'm like, why would these guys who are creating a Bigfoot suit say, hey, you know what, it would be funny, let's put some breasts on this thing? To me, that was like the big thing of like, it can't be fake, but then again, it can't be real either. I mean, there's, what I'm saying? Like I can't, either way, I'm like 50-50 on it. And that's what I love about Bigfoot. And that's what I love about, UFO stuff. And that's what I love about, ghosts, anything paranormal, is that there's people that that have seen it and have like, and there's obviously fakes, people that are just full of crap. But the idea that like, this thing is still like UFOs, people are still seeing these things, and what's the why is it so far-fetched to believe that aliens have visited this planet? Like, why the universe is billions of years old. You don't think that that something didn't come, even with 100, even with a 10 million, even with a million-year head start? Look how much more, how much technology they would be, how ahead of us they would be. So have we been visited by aliens? I am 100% sure that we have. Are we being observed
but it
by
is
aliens?
Interesting.
Absolutely.
It is interesting. At the same token, I don't know of any footage I think is real that I've seen of any aliens. How about you, John? Is there any footage you think is maybe real, or is real, and you're convinced it's real?
I've seen some footage, and once again, you run this risk. Okay. So is something true, or is something true because somebody says something's true? And this is my example, right? So people have been seeing things in the sky forever. And, you have these people go, you're wearing tinfoil hats and you're morons and you're idiots. And yeah. Okay, so it comes out in the paper, right? New York Times. And then all of a sudden, everybody who said that everybody was crazy, they say, oh, well, now an authority that I trust says it. So now it's true. Wait a minute. You're the same guy who called me an idiot for years, but now, okay, we're talking about the same exact thing. And so, is this black coffee? If I say it's black coffee, is this black coffee if Doug says it's black coffee, or is this black coffee if an idiot says it's black coffee? So I've seen some footage, but then again, I look at some of these guys and I fall prey to that same sort of thing. I'm going, do I trust you? Do I trust you?
Yeah.
And see, like with the Gimlin footage, I trust those guys. I for some reason I trust those guys.
Okay. Well, if I gave both of you $1,000 to put on red or black, it's real or not, what are you betting on for Bigfoot?
Which is yes.
Is it real or is it just it's not real?
I say it's real.
Okay.
I say it's real.
Okay, good.
If you just go back in time and try to duplicate, I mean, you struggled with your characters. We had to duplicate some aliens in our film, and I mean that's first of all that's an art, and that's difficult. And then as you mentioned, the twitching of the muscles and the sway of the breast and the hips, and then that. Whomever that person was, if it was fake, the stride and how they moved and everything else.
Yeah.
You don't. That's not one of those things where you go, okay, back to one. We're not going to catch this. These guys came up over the hill. The horse is bucking. You're getting what you're getting.
Yeah.
And so you got one shot at it. And if you got one shot and all of that stuff is in there, man, that's ragu. It's in there. I say it's real.
So I have a question. I've got to ask it now before I forget. Do you think there's a market, Eduardo, for a Bigfoot movie where the Bigfoot's nice? I mean, not a killer, because nobody's really done a high end other than the Goofy, which was tongue in cheek. The Harry and the Hendersons was, that's a non-counter. But I'm talking a very realistic Bigfoot movie where the Bigfoot is not, killing people. Do you think there's a market for that or no?
Sure, of course. I mean, the thing about like exists is that my Bigfoot movie is that's kind of what I was. It's a horror movie and it's a Bigfoot movie. And you're trying to scare people. Again, Harry and the Hendersons is a comedy, so that's what. You wouldn't have a violent Harry if you wanted a comedy, obviously. So you're trying to, I'm trying to do a horror movie. So, but for me, like it was very important to give. Again, like, the idea that like, I just admitted, like I if a gun put to my head, I believe that there is a Bigfoot, that there was something that, it makes sense. It's some kind of evolutionary offshoot of, from humanity. But it's like, it doesn't, I lost my train of thought, but, it's like I can't find my I'm
just curious. Do you think Hollywood would ever finance a very realistic Bigfoot movie?
I don't know. Like the thing about Bigfoot right now is that it's like even exists was just hard. It's a hard market to get to get over. It's a hard market to get into. Like the years ago we had another script that was like a higher budget, because I've written a bunch of Bigfoot scripts, and I started really big budget, and then I started going smaller, and then I finally got enough, did it small enough where I could do exists. And there was a company called Legendary, which is, one of the biggest companies in the world. They make, the Godzilla movies, and, it's crazy what they do. Huge blockbusters, and they were really interested in this Bigfoot script, and they were like, we've been looking for a Bigfoot script. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing different scripts from different writers, and this is the only script we've read that like cracks the Bigfoot code. Like we really see it. And we were like, oh my god, we sold a script, and we're gonna go and whatever. And it was and this is over the weekend. We're like all, celebrating, not too much because we know how it is. But Monday they're like, oh, well, we went out, we have an output deal with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is like, there's no way we're gonna finance a Bigfoot script, a Bigfoot movie. Like that's just not. It's a B. Unfortunately it's like a B movie character. You know what I'm saying? But again, back to my thought, like when I wanted Exist to be, like I wanted the creature to be have kind of some parallels to humanity. You know what I mean? To me, it's like Bigfoot is like part human and part animal. So I didn't want it. Like, I hate when it's like, it's just a killing machine for no reason. Like, okay, why is it a killing machine? Like, all of a sudden. So for me, you know, Bigfoot is like a creature, you know, again, if we go down the road of it existing, that can hide really well and is really very timid because it stays away mostly from people. You know what I mean? It's learned to survive by staying away from people. So there's got to be a reason for this thing to interact with people, especially in a violent way. So for me, it was very important in my film to give some kind of justification to, like, you know, this creature going nuts.
The revenge,
Yeah, the revenge of, you know, the creature. So to me, you know, and actually it's funny that you say this because I've been thinking about kind of a different kind of Bigfoot movie, and I was thinking I was trying to come up with an idea, and I have a seed of an idea where the Bigfoot is scary, but it ends up being nice. It's kind of like a Frankenstein kind of thing, or like, you know, some, you know, we always fear the unknown, but in the end, it's just an animal like anything else, any other animal. So
I mean, the whole topic is just, it's mysterious. It is creepy on its own. You know, it doesn't need a ton of help because you're still dealing with an animal that can drag you away. You know, and it could capture you, and keep you alive.
Absolutely, and you're, you know, it's just like Jaws. Like, if you run into a great white shark, you're in its world. You know, you're in the ocean. You know, if you run into Bigfoot, you're probably in the middle of nowhere. So you're completely in its territory, and that's you know, it's completely, you know, it has every advantage over you, you know. And that's what, to me, what the creepy thing about Bigfoot is, like the stories of, like, the Boy Scouts, you know, sleeping and something's rummaging through their bags and they look out and there's this freaking hulking thing and it looks at them and then runs away. Like, that's creepy as hell. I mean, even if it's not going to, you know, harm you. It's just the fact that this thing is out there is just, you know, terrifying.
Well, I was
obsessed with it, you know.
But I've been in cabins where the cabin's being attacked with rocks and, you know, shook and screaming, and, you know, it's quite scary. I don't think that they wanted to kill us. I think they were just trying to intimidate us. You know,
I mean, they're definitely trying to scare you.
Yeah, for sure. That's a given.
You know, you see animals. Yeah, you see animals do that all the time. You know, they charge, and, you know, even with each other. You know, it's all about you're in my space. I got to do something. But I just love the idea. I love the idea of the, you know, Bigfoot being passive, and that's because this.
Well, I just wonder if
you believe in it, they have to be passive. I mean, you know, they have to be. They're you know, they survive by not coming in contact with humans, by staying away from humans. I mean,
well, I just wonder if there's any, you know, Hollywood would have any appetite. But in seeing for John, I can point to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. The aliens in that were not mean. That movie kept you on the edge of your toes. In the end, they were friendly, as I remember. And, you know, I've seen that movie a few times, and I just wonder how hard of a sell that movie was in creating an alien movie where they weren't attacking, because every movie previous to that, they were bombing our cities and zapping people.
Yeah.
And, you know, except for me.
There was that Arrival movie too. It seems like aliens have been better represented
lately,
in the genre.
But I wonder why Bigfoot can't get the same rap at some point.
The Spielberg treatment.
Yeah, I mean, look, if Spielberg said, "Hey, I want to do a Bigfoot movie," yeah, I mean, that's what, you know. Yeah, absolutely. But I think it does, and it can still be done. I mean, I still feel like there is a way in, and it'll be done eventually. I don't know if by me or by somebody else, but
you feel like
the formula hasn't been broken yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, you feel like
Exist wasn't successful enough, and, you know.
You feel like Bigfoot, though, as in the industry, is kind of tainted as far as there's preconceptions as to what it can be.
Yes, that's a big, you know, the Harry and the Hendersons, I think, did a lot of damage to, like, at least the Bigfoot that I grew up with.
To take it serious.
Yeah, even though I love, you know, that's a fun movie. And the same, you know, now all the, you know, the beef jerky ads and all that stuff, which I love, are funny. But even that, like, you know, I still think the thing can be scary, but yeah, it's hard to, like, convince people who are, who all they're looking at is past, box office success and marketing, that's, unfortunately that's how a lot of things are greenlit these days, is the marketing department makes that decision. So
yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. It's tough. So it requires somebody, like, again, like you were saying, like Steven Spielberg, or like somebody to do it at a small budget and kind of prove it that can be done.
What movie, John, do you think is the best alien movie ever made?
Well, what I was going to say, just to jump in on what you guys were talking about the Bigfoot film and stuff, I think one of the reasons that it kind of T-bones itself or dead ends itself is because it's another M word. It's merchandising. Think about, how many Bigfoot dolls can you sell? Okay, but how many aliens are there in the world of science fiction? There's a huge universe of those. And so you've got all kinds of different scenarios and planets and everything else. And for some reason, Bigfoot is kind of like a cul-de-sac. I personally think that there's a definite market for it, but I think it's kind of a quiet market, and it's not the kind of market that modern studios are looking for right now, because they're really looking for, and so what, and so what, and so what. Okay, can we roll this into a TV show? Can we roll this into what kind of merchandising? Can I sell, that sort of thing. And I think that's why Bigfoot kind of gets into that dead end. As far as films go, for me, The Fourth Kind was really a film that I never saw that until.
Oh, is that the one in Alaska?
Yes, sir. Yeah. And it's it's based, it's kind of like, it's a little bit like, Blair Witch, in that it kind of proposes itself to be a, kind of a documentary. It's a movie within a movie, that sort of thing. Yep. And there were some names behind it, and I thought it was well done.
I saw it. Yeah. I remember. Have you seen that movie, The Fourth Kind, Eduardo?
Yeah. No, I thought it was well made.
It's a disturbing film.
Yeah. But even, like, you guys were talking about Whitley Strieber and like Communion, right? Yeah. I still think that, like, that the terror that book gave, it has still not been shown in movies. Like, I thought that the adaptation of that book was not it was an interesting movie, but didn't capture the horror and the,
Do you know Whitley didn't like it? Whitley did not like it.
I heard of that. But and Fourth Kind, I think, was probably like the closest that it's come. I thought it was much better than the Communion adaptation. Yeah, very effective.
Yeah.
It was scary. Certainly the beginning of the first half of that movie captured me. Kind of lost it a little bit towards the end, but I don't know. But definitely you cut the path for that movie, Eduardo. That was definitely a Blair Witch model.
Yeah, because because I think that, like, it's like the reason found footage that what Blair Witch and eventually the style was called, that we didn't invent, it was, I don't know who invented it, but the reason it works is that Patterson Gimlin is found footage. Any video you've seen of UFOs is found footage. You know what I mean? It's not. It's literally that. Like that. Those things are directly tied to that style, and I think that's why Blair Witch did well, and I think that's why found footage, like Fourth Kind, that it used sort of the found footage, I think it gets as close to that fear as possible, because that's how we, us who are kind of obsessed with this, that's how we see those events. Every Bigfoot video or photo you've seen is literally found footage. Oh yeah, somebody took a picture and this is what it is. It's it wasn't a planned thing. They just happened to have the camera on and it captured it. And the same thing with UFO footage and all that stuff. So I think it's a direct connection to that style, and I think that's why and we didn't really invent it. That's why Dan and I, who wrote the movie and directed the movie with me, Blair Witch, that we went directly back to the Patterson Gimlin film but Legend of Boggy Creek and In Search Of, to get the inspiration for Blair Witch, because for us it was like, it's much scarier as a documentary than it is as a normal film. It's just kind of, at least for us, it was. You know, it just kind of creeps you out that it's real. You know, So
have you thought of making a alien film, Eduardo?
I did an alien film right after Blair Witch called Altered. It's mostly a horror movie, but it has and it didn't do very well. Unfortunately, it has a little bit, it's kind of like a little bit of a comedic edge to it. And I think that those movies are always tough to market. And the studio that we were at had just had a similar movie really tank. And they were like, okay, we're just not going to release Altered other than on video. But it has its own, following. And actually, I'm doing meetings right now because of an executive that saw Altered recently that heard about it. But it's you should check it out because it's an interesting movie. It has it's basically about these 5 guys who were abducted, and we catch up to them, I think 15 years later, and they're just trying to deal with the trauma of their abduction, and they just do it in a really, wacky way, and they just get into more trouble, and they end up, it's a horror movie, so you can imagine what happens. But it's not like it doesn't have any like alien abduction stuff because we didn't have any money. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't actually go to the UFO, and also like Fire in the Sky, I think it has the best abduction scene ever, in the UFO, but we didn't have that kind of budget. But it's just like a little character study about these 5 guys that are dealing with this, post trauma, with alien, the trauma of this abduction, and it's just interesting. And but yeah, so I love, I love that genre, and right now we're talking about furthering the Altered world a little bit, maybe doing another movie or a TV show. So, that's my sweet spot, man. Another one of my sweet spots,
Well, I one of the things about having both you guys on, I just had this weird feeling that you guys might hook up on something.
I'll pull cable for Eduardo. How's that?
Well, I don't. We, I think, yeah, man. And the fact that you're in Pittsburgh and nearby, we live a couple hours away from each other. Yeah, I think it's this is definitely a good hookup.
Well, I'd love to know your thoughts on my film, because it's if you're interested in the genre of abductions, it's all real abductions. And
can we play a trailer, John?
You're more than welcome to. Yeah.
There we go. All right, let's play it here.
This is not communication. It's communion. Hundreds of thousands of people have claimed contact. That will change you. It changed me.
Lost in between two worlds and two dreams.
This was something that I kept buried for years. Strange things would happen. I didn't want anything to do with it anymore.
He came at me, and I fought for my life.
Ships started to pop up in the sky.
And there's this bizarre disk of light. It is moving across the sky very fast.
The experience is often very terrifying.
If I felt fear, I would crawl under my covers, hoping that it would go away, whatever it was.
I know that we were put in that craft. I knew I was going to go to another planet.
And the being was right next to my face.
He saw 2 shadow beings. That's when I felt like I was going to die.
I had a real encounter with something. Even if I had to live with the fear, is to know the truth. is to know.
There we go.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a good film. It's kind of the opposite in some ways, but you know, an alien doesn't have to kill you to be scared the living crap out of you. I don't think of anything scarier than walking around the corner and seeing some little thing standing in my kitchen. Don't you agree, Eduardo?
I think the even worse is waking up with something looking at you.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Middle of the
it's
night.
just, yeah. I mean, it's like for me, when I was a kid, it was, the window, looking in through the window, either Bigfoot or an alien. Like to me, that was like, totally possible in my house growing up. So yeah, it's just fascinating. And yeah, you're right, Doug. It's like, it's not even like, it's not about death or getting hunted or anything. It's just the idea that these things are like watching you and like, and they're like scientists or whoever. It's like, and the way I equate it, is like, it's like us looking at an anthill, like we're just like looking at this anthill and examining it. And all of a sudden the ant notices that we're looking at it or whatever, it's like these, if you, the idea that like they came here to this planet, that means that obviously they have technology that is way beyond, anything we can do. So like for me, it's just like they, it's just scary. Like, and I think that like, you guys were talking about like, is any of the UFO footage real? I think the reason that I feel that like that it's kind of doesn't seem to me to make sense that it's real is that if these things were that advanced, they would never, it would be like us, approaching an anthill, be like, okay, we can't, I'm saying like what they would only let us see them if they wanted us to, they wanted us to see them. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's like they're just experimenting. They're just messing with us. You know what I'm saying? And it could be, I know there's been a bunch of science fiction stories where it's like, it's probably just a couple of alien, kids, teenagers that took the car out and hey, let's go mess with these humans here. And they're just messing with us and doing whatever, or it could be that, or it could be something where it's like, it's just, the National Geographic of another alien culture that's like, hey, we're going back to Earth and let's check out the humans and look at what they're doing now. And Trump is elected and look at this and look at the war. It's like a reality show for humans, you know what I mean? For aliens,
Yeah.
But to me, it's like, that's totally possible and, plausible, you know what I mean?
Well, like for John, he has real memories when he was young and even as an adult, John. Am I wrong there?
No, I could tell the story real quick. I had something happen to me when I was 7 years old. So back in '74, and it scared the hell out of me. And I was told to lie about it. And so I kept it inside all my life. Nobody knew about it. Not my wife, not my kids, nobody. And I lied about it. I was on a shoot in a place called Borrego Springs, California. Totally unrelated. And we were doing night shoots. And we'd come in, and this place is very flat. It's very arid. And we'd come in. It was a nice night. We finished. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And we had about 15, 17 people with us. And what we had done was we rented this huge ranch house, because, trying to herd cast and crew is like herding cats. And so we wanted everybody together. I was inside, and we were dumping footage because we wanted duplicates when we go to the coast. We didn't want to lose anything. I come out to the pool behind this house, and they're going to have a nightcap, and they give me a glass, and I raise my hand, and I'm going to make this toast, and I see a glint of light in the glass. And, your mind tries to search for answers. Like, what is that? What is it? And I said, oh, it's the moon. And I went, wait a second. I was producing. And so I had made decisions to shoot this night because it was the new moon. There was no moon. We wanted to control the light. So I said, wait, that's not the moon. And as I drop my glass, this is all happening within seconds. As I drop my glass, I'm facing the back of the house. The pool's behind me. And I see about 30 feet above the house, this kind of blue-green luminescent thing. It was like an egg, a little bit like a pear, a little bit. And I lost my mind. I'm like, what the heck, And my mind again is trying to tell me what it is. And so I'm saying, oh, that's a balloon. That's like a Mylar balloon, a get well balloon, a happy birthday balloon. And then my mind says to me, wait a second, that is as big as a Volkswagen. What the hell is? And one of my camera guys, Scotty, he was right here. And I turn him and he looks and he says, oh my. And just as he says that, everybody is around the pool, like I told you, drinking. And they say, oh my God, what is that? Is that a UFO? What? And this thing, Eduardo, moves like that fast, zigzag, and it stops right above my head. And when it does, there's a feeling that I have not felt since I was a little kid. And the way I describe it is this. If you've ever stood on a beach and the water rolls up over your ankles and it goes back out to the water, right? It starts to pull the sand out from underneath your feet and you feel like you're falling backwards. That's the way it felt. And it scared the hell out of me. And this thing, I don't know if it was there a second. I don't know if it was there a minute. Then it zigzags away about 20 feet away. Everybody is still buzzing. Oh my God, look at this thing. Oh my, look how fast. And then it just drifts off. And as it drifts, like I tell you, this place is very flat, right? We all watch it for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Now everybody there is talking about it, whatever. And I am literally dying inside. I don't know if you've ever been so sick or so cold or so hungover. Your insides are shaking, like you cannot stop your organs from shaking. That's how fearful I was. And I made some stupid thing to these guys that like, hey, you young whippersnappers, I got to go do paperwork. I got shot list for tomorrow. And I make my way to the room that was mine, and I barricaded the door with the bed, and I threw all of these, my luggage and everything else, and I sat in a corner. I cried my eyes out. And I'm not a good-looking guy. I am an ugly crier. And I cried, and I cried all night. And you have to understand, this wasn't a 50-year-old guy dealing with something. This was a 7-year-old kid who had never, ever dealt with something like your guys in Altered. And it just came crashing over me. I could not control myself. So you know how it is the next day, right? I'm going to kick ass. I'm going to get up. I'm going to have a coffee, hit the showers. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to do this, because I'm producing. I got to get this thing done. And I get my coffee and I can't walk outside. I literally cannot walk outside. I'm having a panic attack. My heart is thumping. And I'm petrified. I cannot walk out there. Somehow, magically, I'm afraid of big sky, and I'm afraid of that water. I cannot walk outside. And I'm here. I'm screwed because I got to go check out some new locations, and I can't go. So I get two of my guys with me. I have to wake them up, and they're pissed off because they're saying, you're not going to listen to us anyway. And it got so bad when I got home to the coast, I would have to get to the office early and wait for somebody to come so I could run and walk with them in. Now, Eduardo, you and I don't know each other, but I'm about 6'3" and 270 pounds. There's not bunches of stuff that scare me. People usually leave me alone.
Yeah.
And I was petrified. It was destroying my life. It was literally destroying my life. And I was and you know what it is? It's like you get angry, but more than that, you get so pissed off. You're so angry at yourself because you got a job to do, you got things to do, and you can't do it. And it was just, I was in a really, really bad place. And I told the guys before, and the last time we talked, I said, a smarter person would have looked for some help, like a psychiatrist or something. But I was so damned and determined. Producers, right? You don't say, well, we can't do this. You say, how can we do this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's my thing. And so I started to read a little bit about people. And I have to tell you, I didn't give a shit about what their encounters were. I didn't care. What I wanted to know was, if this happened to you, how the hell do you go grocery shopping? How do you walk outside? How do you have a normal freaking life? Because I was dying. And so that led me to talk to a few people. And then that finally led me to share with them what had happened to me when I was 7. And then that developed into this part where I remembered waking memory. I remembered every single bit of what had happened to me as a boy, except there was this one place where somehow I got interpolated with this entity, this creature, this whatever, this alien. And I could not remember what happened there. And so I literally had to go through a regression, which I thought, by the way, I thought was total bullshit. You know, I'm like, come on, you're gonna, you know, and the girl who was gonna do it, I mean, like I told you, I'm not a small kid. She's like this little pixie person. Right? And I'm like, I'm not a misogynist, but I just couldn't believe that she could, you know, and she practiced this thing called quantum hypnosis, which literally can take you out of your body and you can see things from, you know, like a 360. And I thought it was total bullshit. And she said, okay, well, let's try, you know, let's go back to your favorite Christmas, that sort of thing. Man, I could smell the pine. I could see I could see my sisters, my mom. I could hear my mom. I could smell the coffee that she was making. I was blown away. I could not believe that that was even freaking possible. But the regression is actually in the film. And it was, let me tell you, I'll tell you a crazy story about this regression thing. This woman who did this is Deb Shakti. She's a gorgeous lady, very nice lady. I at this point, I realized that I want to build a film. And the reason I wanted to was this. You know, I was doing stuff. I was doing sports. I was doing sports. I didn't have anything to do with this. And I said, you know what? I'm suffering so much. I'm certain that there are thousands of people like me who are suffering, who have never, ever had the guts to talk to anybody, whatever. I said, I think this would help them. So I told her that I wanted to record the regression. And she was dead set against it. She said, look, this is not a carnival. We're not playing some damn game. You know, this is your mind, this is your psyche, your soul, whatever. She said, we can't play this. But then I told her that I wanted to try to help people. Mm-hmm. And then she said, okay. But then she put all kinds of rules. Like there couldn't be anybody there. We had to set up cameras on daisy chains. I had to do remotes. Guys had to be out of the building, all this. It was 6.5 hours. Now, in the film, there's probably like 15 minutes, you know, interspersed throughout. But I found out what happened. I found out who took me. I found out where they took me. I found out what they did and what they shared. But then the most incredible thing, and this is, you know, I hear the three of you guys talking, and this is what I want to share with you, you know, we have this kind of preconceived notion that what we're dealing with is something specific, like a gray, if you will. But the truth of the matter is there is a myriad of entities and intelligences and all kinds of different things. When I talk to these people, some of them had experiences a little similar to me, but most of them were vastly different. And so I did not edit them. I let it go raw, and all I did was fit it into the story. And the difference between my documentary, I'm sure you've seen 1,000 of them, and they're really hard to watch. As a filmmaker, I'm sure you'll probably agree with me. You know, it's kind of like you see this, you know, the footage, and then you hear Walter Winchell in the background, you know, back in 1947. You know, are you tired of that? Okay, but my film is, it's an immersive thing. It's like those documentaries are like third-person narratives. They're out there, right? I push you inside. You're with me. You ride with me. It's a first-person narrative, so you're inside the abduction with me, and it starts the world. It starts with the world. What the world is, which is in ignorance and fear, and it kind of shepherds you through that sort of thing to some sort of understanding, because it's like this. Every one of us has experienced this sort of thing, you know. You go into a dark room and you see something in the corner. You go, what the you turn on the light. It's your jacket hanging on, right? Well, after you know what it is, you can make decisions. You can say, hey, I'm never going in there again, right? Or you can say, hey, I'm going to stop being lazy and hang up my damn jacket.
Right.
Or whatever. But you can make decisions if you get a handle on it, even if it's scary, even if it terrifies you. And there's a lot of terror in the film. The reason that Whitley Strieber is in the film is this. I made the film and I'm watching it, and you know how you can get so close to something, you're like, oh, this is it, whatever. But then I separated myself. I said, this is too raw. It's going to kill people. They're going to just be trained. They're not going to be able to finish it. So I needed to kind of get a flow where there was like a counterpoint. And so Whitley comes in to kind of allow people a breath and also to be able to process the information and get some sort of perspective. And it's a catharsis for me. That's why I sound so probably impassioned, because it's really not, it's not a project for me. It's kind of like a mission almost. Yeah.
So, okay. So John just shared a pretty scary, what I would imagine the scariest moment in your life. So is there a story, Eduardo, of a moment? Is there something you've seen, something that really got you, scared to your core? Something must have happened, all your years of doing horror movies.
I mean, no. I've definitely freaked myself out a million times, but I've never had an experience like John's. Like I've never, and it's not like I wanted to have an experience. Like there's some people that are like, oh, I would love to see a ghost. Like, I'm like, I don't really want to, like if it happens to me, great. But just John talking about it, like you understand that is not something that you take lightly. Oh yeah, this happened. I mean, and for me, it's like I don't want that in my life, because that's just it's a mystery, and I just don't want that. But I've freaked myself out so many times, and also I think my big thing was that my mom was very religious, very Christian. And she took it upon herself to try to help me navigate life and try to stay away from problems by really instilling this Christian doctrine on me, of the idea of Jesus being the savior, and then but also the idea that evil existed and Satan was actually on the earth, his for lack of a better word, him and his minions were were actually on Earth, doing things and pushing governments and just, war and famine and all that stuff. So, because her whole thing was like, if you believe in Jesus, then you have to believe in Satan. I mean, that he's in the Bible. That's, he's a character in the Bible. So he's as real as Jesus. So, I think to me, from a very young age, I believed that there was this supernatural, battle going on. So all these other things that came in that weren't that people were like, well, there's UFOs, whatever, that's a joke, whatever, Bigfoot, nobody that exists. To me, I was like, well, if the devil is real, then all this other stuff could be real. Yeah. I mean, why, as at least as a kid, it wasn't that wasn't a big thing to jump, it wasn't a leap of faith.
I know, but okay. I just can't believe I believe you, but I can't believe that you've escaped not one ghost encounter, not one UFO in the sky.
No, I mean, I kind of wish and I hope it doesn't happen, but I kind of do hope it happens, because I'm fascinated by it, so I would love to experience that. But
it's just interesting. But why do you think some people have no experiences and others have so many? There really is a phenomena that I've been studying, because I meet people that have something weird happen to them every week. And then they'll go months or maybe even a year and nothing will happen. Then it'll start up again. But they have so many stories. And I know John's got a ton of them. But I find it funny that you've made your living in doing so much in the paranormal genre, and that you've not ever experienced it.
No, I haven't.
That's weird.
I mean, the closest I ever got to it was, watching The Exorcist as almost like as a documentary on my mom's lap.
Oh God.
And not super young, because it was the first time it was on TV, and I haven't really looked exactly when The Exorcist aired, but it was probably in the late 70s somewhere.
Yeah.
because I remember I was young enough to sit on my mom's lap, and I'm John. I'm like really, I'm 6'7", so I'm like a big dude. I couldn't sit on my mom's lap pretty early in my life, because I was so big. But I remember sitting on her lap and her telling me like, this is what happens if you screw around with this kind of thing. So I've always been, but I mean, I always have these little moments that I don't know if they are supernatural or something, but I do feel things sometimes. Like I remember the end of Blair Witch, they go into that house. That was a house that was near me here in Patapsco State Park. And it was just this abandoned house that we found. And, obviously it had a ton of history. I'm sure people died there but there was something in the cellar that just really creeped me out. And at one time I found myself alone in the cellar. And it was getting dark. We were out there scouting, and everybody was in the house doing, taking measurements or photos. I don't know what we were doing. And all of a sudden I was doing something, concentrating on something, and I realized that I was alone and I couldn't hear anybody else. And there's this, this kind of thing overtakes you, but I don't know if that's just me, being scared or whatever, but I have never seen anything. I've never a voice. I've never had any kind of concrete, occurrence happen to me, fortunately and unfortunately, you know what I mean? So
that's it. I mean, it's interesting. Your mom, by making you watch The Exorcist, may have scared the paranormal right out of you.
I mean, I was never the same after that, really.
I wish you could remember how old you were.
I'll look at. I mean, I could look it up the first time.
4.
Yeah. Well, but you know what? It was
poor guy.
Again, like after around the Blair Witch time, early 2000s, I guess, or 1999, they re-released The Exorcist, with the extra footage in the theater, and my partner and I went to see it, and there was these people with literally with 3 or 4 year old kids in there, and my partner was like, hey, this movie is like not for kids, right? And she's like, she sees everything, what I mean? So I mean, look, if The Exorcist probably isn't that scary if you don't believe in that, if you're not been raised in that with that doctrine. But I think, so maybe it's not as scary as something else. But for me, it was like, again, my mom, it was like a family event. Like, hey, we're going to all gather around and watch The Exorcist. And, it was the edited version on TV. So there wasn't all the stuff in it.
Right.
All the really shocking stuff. But again, it was like, okay, the devil is real. And if I mess with it, I'm going to, this is what's going to happen. This could happen to me. So, and that's why, like I said again, like believing in Bigfoot, believing in aliens, believing in ghosts, that was nothing for me. I totally believed. I still, believe that there's some, there's obviously something out there that we can't explain.
Well, I just find it interesting. I wonder what you think about, people that have had numerous experiences with, whether it's ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, or whatever. What goes through your head when you hear these stories? Do you think they're, full of BS, or is it's got to be hard for you to believe when you've had nothing?
No, I don't. I actually find it really easy to believe. Like I don't, I think a lot of people come into it with like, whatever. But for me, it's like, for me, it's just about like hearing John's story, and I want to hear more. I want to see the documentary. Like I'm fascinated now.
Right.
To me, that's like, even if you're bullshitting or bullcrapping me, I mean, I don't, to me, it's like, it's the story and the way, even John a little bit, just the way he delivered it. Like, to me, it's like, there's something real about these people's experiences. And to say, to completely say at the beginning, I'm not going to believe you, is just disrespectful. It's just the same thing if with other trauma in your life, like if you were, molested as a kid or whatever. It's like the idea of like, your uncle would never do, never do that. Like that's the worst thing you can do to somebody. So for me, it's like, again, like John was saying, it is a matter of trust. There's some people that seem like they're just, looking for attention. And there's other people that just don't, that come off. For me, it's like, why would John make this up? You know, why would?
Yeah, we don't. People
what I'm
that
saying?
have experiences, we don't look for it.
Yeah,
It just
well,
happens.
you guys aren't looking for it. Like, you just have it. And like when we were doing a real quick story, like my stunt coordinator on Exist, this guy named Jeff Schwan, he already had the job. We were already starting to shoot, and he was already hired. And we were having like a little party on Friday night at the studio, just kind of having a couple of beers or whatever. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, have I ever told you my Bigfoot story?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you had a Bigfoot story." So he tells me the story, very, kind of, he driving down in the middle of nowhere, snowstorm, this thing runs across. It's exactly what, the described, really tall, hairy, and him and his wife, and he stops the car. His wife is freaking out, like, "Why are you stopping?" And Jeff's just curious, like he just wants to see what this thing was. So he takes off, and and to me, it's like, he already had the job. So it's not like he's trying to impress me to get the job or lying to me. And I'm like, Jeff is a, very rational person, not a sensationalist, at all. He's very, even keeled, and he hunts. So he knows what bears look like. He knows why is he, what did he see? And it's like, to me, it's like, okay, it's either a real creature or somebody in a really good costume is in the middle of nowhere in freezing just to scare people going by in a car. I mean, it's the biggest hoax in the history. So to me, it's like, for most of these people that are saying things, there's no reason for them to lie, And so to me, it's like, it's either, something is going on, and that's what really fascinates me. And the fact that I haven't seen it, to me, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, to me, it's like, I generally believe people, you know what I mean? I generally trust people, so to me, it's like, it's just fascinating to see exactly what is going on there, and examine that. That's what I love. I love doing that.
Yeah. It's interesting. John, have you had other experiences like with ghosts or anything? Has there been anything other paranormal that's ever gone on in your life?
I would have told you no. Once again, when I did the film, it was kind of like a medical exorcism for myself. It was so hard. I had a really difficult time watching it. And that's a pain, because if you're trying to edit something, you can't watch it, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So it took me too long to finish the project. But But I, at the end, I kind of felt this kind of, I don't want to say peace, but kind of settled that I had dealt with something that happened to me as a kid. And to your point, by the way, Eduardo, I wanted to say something. And I don't know if I'm embarrassed to say this. I just think it's important. When I was going through that regression, I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was going to say. You know what I mean? I thought, am I going to look like an ass? Am I going to say something really horrible? But there was this deep-seated need. I wanted it to be some sort of child abuse. I wanted it to be, because I thought, look, that's accepted. All right? Somebody could say, oh, this poor kid. You know what I mean? Oh, I understand. And there's, we need therapy and help him and whatever. I really didn't want it to be, hey, listen, something this incredible. No, I didn't want that, because you know what? Here's the thing, man. This is not a resume builder. Warner Brothers has not called me to be in the next Avengers film. It's not happening. Nobody said, hey, John, you should be the head of our studio. No, it's not. In fact, I know I'm off on a tangent, but I'll just share this with you guys. I was at a wedding before the holiday, and the film came out and started to get a little bit of ink, and people started to watch it. And I was at this wedding, and I've known some of these people all my life. So people came right up here, like here, literally, and would talk across me and would not recognize me in the room. They did not want to be associated with me. They did not want to talk to me. And so that was really, really painful, because these are people I know and love. So that was hard. To answer your question, Doug, it's this. At the end of the film, I kind of thought that it was over. And this happened when I was a kid, and I dealt with it, and that was it. And the film came out. I never talked to my wife or my kids, and so I had to have, when we finally got picked up. I mean, I do all kinds of projects. So, what's Dad do? He works in TV and film, whatever. Okay, but when we got it picked up, when Virgil, bought the rights, I went, holy crap, this thing's going to get out there. And so I had to have the talk with my two sons, my adult sons, and my wife. And that was difficult too, because that was not one conversation, by the way. That was several conversations, and it started off with like, "Let's go, Dad," and then of course, it almost like it merged into something else, like almost like is the pressure too much for Dad? Is he abusing drugs or alcohol? This sort of thing. And my wife, this is the most tragic thing. I've known my wife for 33 years. She felt betrayed, because I had never shared this with her. Now she can see there's a very large, definite mark on me personally, my body, as a result of this thing that happened to me. And I'd always blown it off. I had made bullshit things like, oh yeah, I got bit by a shark, hit by lightning. Yeah, I got harpooned. But the idea was it took 3 seconds and it diffused the situation, right? No, they were like, you're an ass. And then let it go, because anything in the world, anything would have been better than to say, hey, listen, so. So I had the conversation, and the film comes out, and I'm feeling a little bit better about it, settled. And then very strange things start to happen. And I couldn't understand them. There were some strange light things going around my home, and I thought, that's weird. Why is that? Then I would find things like poltergeist activity, like where because I'm a producer, I'm a very anal retentive guy, right? Everything is in its place, because you're usually dealing with a lot of money, and it's usually not yours. So, that audit trail got to be tight. And so things are out of place, things are moved. I'm thinking, who is screwing around with me? What's going on? And I try to just chalk it up to, I'm just being scared. I'm just freaking myself out. Like you said, Eduardo, that's me. It's my playing tricks with me. And then something really strange happened. I've worked at the same office for 13 and a half years. Okay. I drive the same way every day, back and forth. And it is 1 hour and 12 minutes, 1 hour and 20 minutes with traffic. It is not 3 hours. It is not 4 hours. I would be ending up in places that I've never seen in my life. My car is off. My GPS is off. I have to reboot my phone. I'm like, where the f am I? And I turn this thing on, and I find out I'm like 18 miles away in a wrong direction. So I'm showing up to shoots late. This is a big problem. And then I'm thinking, wait a minute, am I like epileptic or something? What's going on? Why am I having these problems? Is missing time? But I can't explain all the electronic phenomena, like why these things are all turned off and stuff. So stuff like that is occurring in my life. And in fact, there's a lot more dramatic shit that's going on too, like being in a place that I shouldn't be, or I have no idea how I got there. And I'm locked out of my house, which is a strange thing. And all the alarms are on and everything else. I don't live in a great place. So, I have alarms and locks and double locks and triple locks. And there's no way for me to be outside in the middle of the night and not have a door open or something. And so that's happened a couple of times. And so this is a thing that's going on with me. And
still ongoing.
The difference is this. Is that when I was a kid, I was petrified, and I hid from it. Now I'm 56 years old, and I'm still nervous and scared. But you know what? This is the thing. I can't ignore it. I've got to face it. I've got to figure this thing out. And this is what I've become like obsessed with doing. I've got to figure this damn thing out. And anyway, I'm sorry. I'm an Irish guy, so I'll talk forever. I apologize.
No, man, it's amazing. No, it's amazing.
Well, it's interesting. I was gonna mention anybody in chat that has a question for Eduardo or John, just put it in caps and fire away. It's a good time to do that real quick here. And so, You guys are absolute. What time we got? Well, we still have 10 minutes. So, Eduardo, what's your current project that you're working on? Like or just got done with? What's your most current project that people can go watch?
I just, I'm doing, mostly TV these days, and I have a couple of features that are like being, I'm always developing features, but it's just the TV stuff gets in the way, or I'm sure John can attest this. The financing is always difficult. It's very hard the indie film thing is very difficult these days. It's a very it's very hard to make a living with it. So, and if you want to go to the studios, it's a bunch of hoops, and it's a numbers game really. But I just did an episode of FBI International for CBS, which we shot in Budapest, and it was fun. It was the town, the city is amazing, and cast was cool, and I had a good time. And then I have a couple of things that I did last year. I have my episode of I did the third episode of Strange New Worlds, the Star Trek show, which is starting soon, season 2. I did the third episode of that, and then I did a show for Amazon that's probably going to come out this summer called The Horror of Dolores Roach, and I did the last 2 episodes of that, and that was pretty cool show. Blumhouse was the producer and the studio, and now right now I'm just like again developing some features. There's a feature in the UK, a horror film that looks like it's going to happen in the fall, which I'm very excited about. And again, the first kind of dibs, but I've been talking to somebody, somebody, who can get things done about a possible altered sequel or a TV show or something. So that's the whole thing. And for me, it's like I'm gonna bug you now, John, and I'm gonna start stalking you a little bit. But I just love these kinds of stories, and again, and the idea that you're trying to it's this investigation. It's in your life, you're dealing with these things that are directly affecting you. It's a great story, you know what I mean? And and to me that kind of stuff fascinates me. So I'm always in this world, you know what I mean? I always seem to land somewhere in this paranormal world with most of my work, and and that's just what I would love to continue to do.
I see you directed an episode of Yellow Jackets. I saw that yesterday on the Paramount Network, the series, and I was going to, what in the world is that even about? It looks so intriguing. What was the episode?
It's I did the last episode of season 1, and I think the first episode of the season 2 just aired. But it was this cool script that I was sent, and it's basically about this high school soccer team in the 90s that their plane goes down on the way to nationals or whatever, and it's kind of, so there's a little bit of survival, trying to figure out what's going on. A little bit of feels a little bit like Lost, a little bit Lord of the Flies for sure, because most of them are underage. And then there's 2 time periods. There's the period that in the 90s when they were young and they just crashed, and then you cut forward. Go forward, I think 15 or 20 years to their adult versions. And that's Melanie Linsky and Juliette Lewis and Misty and Christina Ricci. So it's like this, and it's just really interesting. It's it has some supernatural elements, but it has some really biting humor, really well written, and and it happened to be one of the kind of the hit shows, kind of the breakout shows of last year, and I was just really happy to have been a part of it. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It has a good. I watched the first season. It has a good balance between showing the mystery and solving things. Because a lot of shows it's really easy to build mysteries, and then not answer them. And I think this show does a good job of introducing new mysteries, but then also answering the kind of the things.
The payoffs are good.
Yeah, the payoffs are good, and that's really hard to do in that kind of show.
Unlike Lost.
Again, I don't want to.
You don't have to say that. I'm saying that.
But yeah, Lost is like kind of like the prime example of like setting a lot of things up and then just completely forgetting about them. And it was still a really fun show until the very end. I loved it. I loved it.
But we're still lost.
We're still lost with Lost. Yeah, remember there was that whole thing where like there was a petition to like reshoot the final episode. What world are you guys reshoot the final episode? How are you going to do that? How exactly are you going to do that?
Have a Kickstarter.
Yeah, get a Kickstarter, raise like $50 million to bring everybody back.
I got one question for both of you guys. So like obviously so much like you're trying to do your passion, but obviously there's the constraints of the market, budget, raising money, all this. What is the one dream project if there was no limit on financing, on it being marketable? What is the one dream project you guys would do?
Go ahead,
and
John.
It can be a documentary, it can be an actual film, it could be a TV series. Doesn't matter.
Eduardo wants to do that last episode of Lost over.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's my passion. Yeah,
it'll be a found footage.
What would it be? What would it be? We'll let you both answer. What would it be? John, go ahead.
You sir.
There's a Bigfoot movie I wrote years ago called Manable Walk, which is takes place in the late 1800s. And it's about this train that derails and in the middle of nowhere, and the people are hunted by this tribe of Sasquatch. It's right after the Civil War, so it's like a really interesting kind of character. It's like kind of like a pressure cooker of like different kinds of people. It would require like $50 million. So I'm not like holding my breath, but that I think would be my, at least the thing that I've thought through the most. That would be my dream project. And we almost, we got close to setting it up, and it's not dead yet. I try to resurrect it every few years. But yeah, it's just a cool kind of like a period Bigfoot movie. I thought was I think would be a cool idea. So that's my big passion project that I can talk about right now.
That's interesting. I just find it interesting. It's a Bigfoot topic.
Yeah, man. I mean, honestly, like I know, like James Cameron lives in the Avatar. He's like, I'm happy living in the Avatar world. I would be happy like just doing Bigfoot movies. That would keep me entertained. That's good to know. That would keep me entertained for a long time. Yeah,
that's good to know. See here. There's actually somebody, I'm not going to say who it is, but there's somebody in the audience that's listening to your dream, Eduardo.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they might pass it up to some pretty higher ups and somewhere. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, and John knows, he, you never know. You never know what's gonna. And sometimes, like again, the greatest opportunities all of a sudden just go down the drain so quickly, and other things that you never thought had any hope of coming to fruition happen. It's just the way it is.
Right.
John, I want to hear John. I want to hear John's.
Yeah, let's hear your answer, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, Eduardo and I probably do the same thing, which is we either work or we're trying to get work. It's it's a feast or famine, right? So the way I've been able to survive is because I do a lot of commercial work, a lot of TV stuff and
okay,
even,
but we're giving you 100 million. 100 million. What are you going to do?
100 million, yeah.
Oh my God! Well, I guess we're going to do Eduardo's film first. Actually, Eduardo, I guess I want to be an extra in his film. No, I think you ought to make. I tell you the truth, Eduardo. I think you ought to make that a limited series, man. 5 or 6 episodes.
Netflix limited series.
You know, it's funny because like I just sent that same idea to a producer that was like, she was like, when I first wrote the script years ago, she was one of the champions of the script, but she was like an assistant, and now she actually is a pretty high up executive, you know, with doing television shows. And I just sent her that idea, and she came back and said, you know, limited series are tough because they always want a second season. You know, what's the second season of this? And I'm kind of like, it's kind of, you know, that's my issue right now. I'm trying to come up with a second season of this. But yeah, that's the way I saw it, is like a six half-hour episodes, like a 3-hour or 4-hour thing. I think it would be really cool. So if anybody's out there, you know, from, you know, that is interested, that would be the way to go.
I think your second season should be like Predator. You know how like Predator moves it from different eras? Yeah, to do another one. Yeah, another type of thing. Anyway.
So, well, anyhow, we know what John's going to do with his 100 million. He's just going to give it to Eduardo.
No, yeah, give me. I just need half, and then I'll help. Yeah, and I'll help you with yours as well.
I'll be.
I really want to see John in a top hat in this limited series.
I would love to be in the top hat. Thank you, sir. No, if I had my druthers, I right now I'm, you know, I'm pushing the film because it's going international on the 15th. So I'm busy with all of that marketing stuff. But I realized at the end of my film that there were more questions than answers. And my first film in the genre, this is Alien Abduction Answers. And so when I have those answers, it's like a certain kind of an awakening that you're surrounded by this phenomena all over you. So I'm working on raising funds for the sequel, Alien Abduction Awakening. But if I had my druthers commercially, I think I'd like to reboot X-Files.
That's interesting.
I'd like to reboot X-Files, but like commercially. But honestly, I'm so focused on this thing right now that it's kind of just taking me down this rabbit hole. So I do everything else so I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Greg Najjar asked, "What's the craziest thing anybody's done to pitch you guys a story or a script or a TV show idea or a movie idea? Certainly somebody's done something."
Yeah, let me take this one. I never had social media ever in my life. Okay, never had it. And I got involved with this film. And then, you know, when the film got picked up, I thought, well, shit, nobody knows me. I'm a nobody. You know, I'm a blue-collar worker. I have no name. I have no cue. So I said, I got to start social media. So I started doing all the social media. And I have met some very interesting people. I have met the mermaid people. I don't know if you know them, but they're mermaid people. And they want me to have their alien baby and make me their king.
Oh,
so
okay. There you go.
Doug, you cannot be their king. I am their king.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they pitched me a whole mermaid person thing, and that was kind of weird. Your turn, Eduardo.
Man, try to top that.
I'm pretty open to you know, and I'm going to open myself up to a bunch of people contacting me, but I'm pretty open, and but I have had my, you know, my mermaid, you know, related kind of, you know, just odd, you know, odd requests and this and that. But, you know, for me, the worst thing, and it's not, you know, it's not a fun thing, but like when I've had a few people like really, you can tell when people like are like pretend to be your friend, like try really hard to be your friend, you know what I mean? Like, or you know what I'm saying? And I think that like, they think that people that I don't know that, you know what I mean? But that's what I kind of gravitate away from, you know, pretty aggressively, is like the idea that like, there's people that are just, they think that by trying to be your friend, they can get in, and it, you know, it's never worked. You know, but again, like if somebody comes to me like genuinely trying to pitch something and it's, you know, half decent or whatever, I always at least give them, you know, my opinion. But I hate when it's just like, you know, you're obviously just playing me, and I can see that you're playing me. And this is not just, you know, you know, people off the street or, you know, people who message me. Like, I'm, you know, a lot of the problem is that in this business, a lot of executives get that want to, you know, fake friendship thing, and they push it, and you're just like, dude, you know, I'm not asking for friendship. I just want, you know, I'm saying, like, you're not gonna, like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing when people act like so friendly that you're like obviously not, you know, you're obviously faking it. You know what I mean? That's really that's probably the craziest thing people do, and they continue to do. Like, I don't understand, like, how people, like, don't see that I'm seeing through that. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, this business is filled with people like that.
So the ulterior motives were
the clear ulterior motives, man. You know, like, you know, you have no real interest, and you're asking about my kids and whatever, but you have absolutely no interest. You're just trying to get drilled
as they're
down
handing you a script.
Or wanting you to do. Yeah, it's just, you know, unfortunately, that's just, and I think that happens in all over.
Yeah,
but
gotta
a lot in
Yeah.
the business, in this business.
So do you like directing versus, you know, creating your own products?
I like both of them. I mean, I like creating it because, as I think John could probably say, and you know, anybody who writes, is that, you know, when you come up with the idea, it's this beautiful idea and it's perfect, and then when you start actually working on it, you start, you know, realizing that maybe it's not that great an idea, or oh my God, how much work am I going to have to do? Or people start giving you their opinions of it, and you know, and you never, you know, like the first kind of idea that you have of something. The projects that I have kind of gone, you know, and finished, they're never anything like the original idea. So I love that original kind of like nurturing of, like, oh, the newborn idea is just the funnest time. But I like directing. It's, you know, I think I'm pretty good at it, and you know, I especially like television directing. It's like feature films. And John, you're right in the middle of this right now, but, like, you know, especially indie films, you're talking about years of your life that you have to dedicate to this thing, and usually it doesn't pay very much. And I like the idea of, first of all, getting paid, and then also, you know, making a living, and then also just being like going in, and I work about a month, you know, prep for 2 weeks, shoot for 2 weeks, and then I do post for about a week or so. And then it's gone. And, you know, you can tell people, hey, go see, you know, come see the Star Trek episode I directed or whatever. So it's out of your, you know, you don't have to worry about it anymore. And I love that, especially coming from the indie world where you have to worry about everything, even when your film is out. Like, John, I know, you know, you know this, like, it's just the beginning of the road, you know, it's just the beginning of the road. And obviously you don't have to do what you have to do. And it's great to have a passion project like you have, but it's a lot of work, and I don't think people realize how much time and effort, you know, this doing an indie film like John is doing, like how much that takes from you. So I like directing, but again, like, I haven't done a feature in a really long time, and I'd like to get back into that at least every once in a while. But I like where I'm at, and I love collaborating with new people. You meet a whole new team and new actors and new DPs, and I just love the energy the crew gives you, and crews are the same no matter where you go. There's just, you know, there's this passion for filmmaking that I feel like, you know, I've lost a little bit, you know, because I'm a little jaded, you know, being older in this business. But I just love that energy. So I love both things, but directing is, you know, definitely the most lucrative thing I can do right now.
So have you guys, do you have an opinion on where are we going to be at with movie theaters and TV and cable TV in 10 years from now? I mean, things are changing so rapidly. Huge shakeup in the TV industry. They're hurting, you know, in the cable industry, streaming, video on demand, blah, blah, blah. YouTube, where's it all going?
That's a good question. John, you got any ideas?
He asked like 8 questions, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a Dougie. That was a Dougie question.
You know what the problem is that there's so much out there. You know, when we started, you know, a film camera was like $250,000, and it took 3 guys to move it. You know, today some guy can go out, prosumer $15,000, and he's good to go, and you get a lighting kit, and he's a movie maker. But, you know, it reminds me, maybe it's just because I'm old. You know, you can have all the facts, but that doesn't make you wise, right? And so you can have all the toys, but that doesn't make you an effective storyteller. It just doesn't. And so I think that you're going to have, where there might have been, a whole myriad of different qualities of film. I think you no longer have, A's and B's, but you also have C's and D's and E's and F's, because so many people have such short attention spans, it affects on both sides. These little snippets that you get, this TikTok thing and this YouTube stuff, and then big cinema, is just becoming so exclusively, it's so damn expensive, and this technology that's coming up, and most of it, hell, the previs, one of these things. I don't even know how they come up with this type of money to do these things. So I think that I think cinema suffers because the stories themselves kind of get pushed into the background, and the things that are going to get budgeted and greenlit are these huge, massive, Avatar, which is fantastic, but not everything can be Avatar. Not every single thing can be Avatar. And then one of the things that I'm reading about is this immersive sort of media, like where it's almost like a holodeck, where like you're inside the actual thing, and that's going to change everything too. So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Like I said, I have a lot of facts, but I have no wisdom at all.
Eduardo, what do you think?
I mean, again, like what John says, like we're just throwing darts at the dartboard at the wall at this point. I mean, we have no idea. I mean, I think that like in the next few years, I definitely feel there's going to be a lot of consolidation of a lot of the streamers are going to come together because there can't be that many streamers.
Okay.
So and I think John is right. I think the movies are way too expensive, even though like the numbers that are coming back to like pre-COVID numbers a little bit. There's always been a drop every year. You lose viewership in the movies because it's just super expensive. And then also we have these, like I have a little screening room in my basement, and so like with a 125-inch screen, so and a nice stereo system, so like I don't feel like I'm missing the theater experience that much, like even though I do still love to go to the movies. So I think that people will still go to the movies, but I think that there's going to be I think what John was saying, there's just too much stuff out there, and I think that even like for even me as a director, like there's been a slowdown in the business right now. First, there are a couple of reasons. The idea that Doug was saying is that some of these companies are losing a lot of money and they have to kind of figure out the model again, how to make money. And also there's this impending strike that there's the WGA's contract is up soon, and then the DGA and SAG right after it. So the business is right now like I'm usually really pretty busy in the spring, like pretty much back-to-back shows. And this spring I've only done one show, and then I have another one in like a month. And everything, and we go out and trying to sell, and we're talking to our agents, and everything's just really slowing down right now. People are not buying because of those multiple reasons. But I think I think entertainment is no matter what happens, like I think it's kind of it's always going to be there, and it's almost like it's pretty recession proof, like it seems like people would rather watch TV than sometimes eat, you know what I mean? Like there's entertain, because and like COVID proved that, like the idea that like you need your entertainment, you need to get your head out of what you've been doing your life sometimes. And I think watching a movie or watching a TV show is the way to do it. So I think there's work for us for a while, but what John was saying is right too, is like we have no idea that the attention span of people are getting shorter, like TikTok and Instagram and all these, who knows what's going on. But I do like the fact that, like John touched on it, is the idea that like people can now make movies with their phones. It leads to a lot of crap, but also it does, open up the kind of anybody can make a movie these days. And like what John was saying earlier is that when we were young, you had to have a film camera, you had to be able to buy, stock and be able to develop it. I mean, tens of thousands of dollars that was the cheapest film you could make. You know what I'm
just
saying?
the cost of film.
Just the cost of the film, and
Yeah.
and who the hell owns a film camera? You have to go find a film camera and all that lighting and all, all that stuff, audio, all that stuff. And now everybody has, phones, and I like that. I like the fact that there's these really young filmmakers that are getting their chances. And I know there's a lot of talent out there. And I like the fact that now, it seems like everybody can get access to a phone. So you're going to have, it's just more diverse, filmmaking and I don't know what it's going to be, but it's exciting.
Well, doesn't it? It even amazes me that that we can even get a live audience of 300-400 people that are willing to watch this versus something that's on TV that cost millions of dollars to produce. And here we are just jabbing away, and people are just more interested to be here than somewhere else. I mean, things have changed so much.
Well, and also,
and
also I think we have, the ability now to interact, instantly. People can ask us questions. Right. It's real time.
So cool.
So I think, I mean, it's a great time, to be alive, and
I just wonder how it's all going to be remembered, and how long it's going to be before they have Chat GTP 20 and they can just say, here's the plot, blah, 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 and plug it in to the thing, and all of a sudden the whole movie's produced, It's getting crazy.
Yeah, man. It's getting crazy. It's and do we need actors? Do we need directors? Do we need writers? We don't need that anymore. So
it won't be long before they're going to reproduce. Even AI can reproduce people pretty quick. It's pretty crazy.
We're going to be the Betamax.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've joked that there's no more celebrities.
I get that joke, John. I get that joke. Alex does not get
I know what a Betamax is.
I didn't say 8-track.
Yeah.
No.
That's further.
Well, what do you guys think? Are we done with celebrities? They're just gonna have CGI, Bruce Willis is gonna be making movies 100 years from now. They're just gonna license his likeness.
I think part of me wants celebrities not to be part of the mix.
Yeah.
I mean, on it, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I'm just trying
of course not.
It becomes more about that. And then I say, listen, guys, what makes a great actor? Well, now you can't be an actor if you're not this or not this. I said, what is that? The whole idea of acting is to become somebody else. That's the whole point. You know what I mean? So there's all this political stuff that's intertwined with it. What I think is it distracts from the art. That's all I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because when you watch a film or you watch television, you want to get lost in the story. I mean, that's the magic of that art. You want to get lost in the story. You want to be part of the story. And, if I care about who you just, divorced or who you had a baby with or whatever, and all this other crap, to me, it's blah, blah, blah. It's noise. It's noise to me.
So what was the best movie where's this last question? And then we got to go. What was the best movie ever made, Eduardo?
Whoa. The best. I mean, that's, you can't answer that.
How about what is your favorite movie?
Well, for me, I mean, there's a different, I think for me, the Star Wars is probably the most important film in my life because it just taught me. I mean, my dad is a big movie fan, and I was already kind of in, I love movies and going to the movies and watching movies on TV. But Star Wars really taught me, just kind of got me into how the hell do they make this movie and what is this movie? It just revolutionized. It just showed me something so different than anything that was out there. So I think that movie is very important to me. But there's so many great movies. But I think that one, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, obviously, if Star Wars hadn't happened. And then, Steven Spielberg's films, in the 70s and 80s, and then, getting into film school and, discovering Scorsese and Spike Lee and, and the younger filmmakers that were doing the indie world, Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez. And, there's just so many there's so many movies that, that kind of touched me, and they're still making, there's still some great movies coming out,
Yep. So anyhow, we're not going to get an answer out of Eduardo.
No, I mean, I can't.
No. That's fine. I get it.
It's such a long list,
I get it. No, it's cool. But some people do. They narrow it down to one movie that really they think was the best movie ever made. It had a huge effect on them. They couldn't shake it after they watched it, and that's the one they loved.
Yeah.
How about you, John?
I have the white flag. I can't tell you. But the one thing I was going to say is, Eduardo, I loved Blair Witch. All of my friends didn't like Blair Witch. They were like, "Oh, is this a documentary?" I said, "You guys are idiots. You don't understand." I said, "This is a first person. Are you morons? Go for the ride." "Oh, it made my stomach hurt," and whatever. But the thing I wanted to tell you is this: my absolute favorite. I can't talk about favorite movies because I have too many. But my absolute favorite moment in Blair Witch, my absolute favorite, is at the very end when they fall down the stairs. The camera comes down and Mike's in the corner. That is the eeriest, freakiest moment. And he's kind of mumbling to himself. Yeah. Scared the, fill in the word, scared the out of me. I went, get the, that moment. Yeah. So I can understand why that basement scared you a little bit.
Yeah, man. I was in that cellar. So yeah. I know it was a cool moment, man.
Yeah.
I got one more thing. And this is for you, Eduardo. I think the creators of Paranormal Activity owe you royalties.
Well, you know what? I met Oren, the writer director, and he told me the exact same thing. I mean, not about royalties, but he was like, I owe you my, I sort of owe you my career. And I was like, you don't owe me anything, man. I mean, he was buying me lunch and he's bought me dinner a few times. Yeah. So, but no, he's a great guy, and I loved, meeting him, and he told me, he told me, he's like, I would watch Blair Witch every day after, work, and I mapped it out, and it's cool because if you look at the first Paranormal Activity, you look at Blair Witch, like it's structurally, it's almost, it's very, very similar.
But it's in a house.
And it's in a house, but even like all the little beats match up, and no, I mean, look, I mean, yeah, I would love to have some of his royalties, but it's kind of like, I always felt like with all these kind of found footage movies, like I feel a little bit like how George Romero felt, after all these, when Walking Dead was on, and all these movies.
I can only imagine.
I mean, it's a sincere, it's the best, form of flattery, is your stuff.
Well, it had to be like, like after Die Hard, and there was like Die Hard on a plane and Die Hard on a boat, and
yeah. I mean, that's what Hollywood does. But it's it's great that I've said.
But you got to meet the creator.
I got to meet him, and
that's cool.
And we're still friends, and
that's funny.
He's he's a good guy. I don't begrudge anybody.
So
success.
So he gave you credit for the inspiration.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, that's as a filmmaker, that's I never thought I would be inspiring other filmmakers with my work.
Well, it is cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
All right, and Eduardo, you've been a joy to have on.
Yes,
just a delight. John, as always, you're amazing too, and we really thank the huge audience we had tonight, and thanks everybody, and we'll sign off, and we're going to stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially with I'm going to check out your movie, John, and I'll be in touch. I'll ask these guys for your email, and I'll get in touch.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, guys. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys. Yep. Thanks. Good night, Thanks for having me.
Good night.
Call you up in the middle of the night, been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling just fine. You and I will always know